Yo, restart that shit.
Merry whenever the hell this comes out, folks, as we're all in the holiday spirit. I thought what better time than to watch my favorite Christmas movies, Wizard World War II. So a little bit ago, two pals of mine joined me in my attempt to watch all of the Harry Potter movies, where we spent over 20 hours in a basement for me to try and make this video. Okay, well, I'm with my two boys, Fisher and Lil Tedsticle. They're both acclaimed YouTubers. The mission was simple: watch one and rank one on our scientifically developed tier list: absolute garbage, goofy fun, solid, just right, and the GOATs. The decisions that we made were a group decision, and I'm going to be making some changes in this video. So without further ado, let's get into the first movie. Oh wait, it looks like Past Me has something to say real quick. 99% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. Please subscribe.
God, that's sad.
But dude, I'm trying!
I tried hard enough.
I'm trying! I'm sorry!
You suck! Retire, bozo!
No! Harry Potter and the Forbidden Pebble was the birth of a terrifying new breed of superfan that a large majority of us were part of as children, or still are as adults. Was Harry Potter and the Disturbingly Old Man a perfect film? No, but it didn't really need to be. Simply put, this is a timeless classic that a lot of us have nostalgia towards because of when we watched it. Like, honestly, kids will watch anything you put in front of them at a certain age, and when you make cool twigs that shoot out laser beams, flying brooms, and giants, it's pretty mind-boggling. As kids, we were introduced to this eccentric world that we wanted to be part of, and Harry was this perfect gateway because he was learning about the world just as much as we were. But here's where things got a little bit interesting. On one hand, going into the watch party, Ted had never watched any of the Harry Potter movies in full. Fisher had very little nostalgia for the first few, and I obviously had a ton of nostalgia. But one thing remained in common for all of us during the movie: we all got kind of bored. I'd say particularly around the middle act is when the pacing began to get a bit sluggish. Some of the main cracks in this movie I think were what made it so successful in the first place. When it comes down to it, this movie was made for kids. Not that all audiences can enjoy it, but there are a lot of moments of oohing and ahhing throughout the film, and they just kind of feel like they were intended to spread this idea of magic towards a younger audience. For the two seasoned Harry Potter psychopaths and Fisher and I, it was a bit tough considering how much we'd already been a part of this world. As for the newcomer and Ted, some points just weren't designed for a viewer like him watching, being an adult with zero nostalgia and someone who wouldn't typically watch this type of film. But aside from some of our personal gripes with the pacing, this flick is indeed solid. I really enjoyed a lot of our main cast in the film. Obviously, you can't judge the acting too much in this one, because everyone's still learning, but in terms of the characters' general traits and motives, it's all pretty solid. I will say the adults in this movie were awesome. The clear standout is always going to be Alan Rickman, who gave such an amazing performance as Snape over all of these films, and he's giving it his all, which makes a lot of his moments rise above the rest of the film. On another note, Fisher and I had some major what the hecky moments, specifically regarding a certain rat that was moving very illegal. Like, this is messed up. Hey yo JK, what the fuck? You did this shit a lot too. Like, every damn person in this movie is a predator. We had a counter and everything. It's the first thing we all thought when seeing Professor Quirrell. Shit gets worse each movie too. Also, from a narrative standpoint, you can tell JK was lying her ass off that she planned it completely from the beginning. No, the fuck you did not. Come on, let's not lie here. Like, what is the point of the Horcruxes if Quirrell is just going to lazily try and kill Harry? Like, why did Voldy want the magical pet rock if he already had a way to be reincarnated? So then you may be like, well, it's because you had to speedrun it and revive quickly. Okay then, why'd that bald fucker try to convince Harry to join him on the dark side? Or why didn't Quirrell just outright use Avada Kedavra on Harry in the final battle? JK, you gotta stop doing this. Just take the L on this one. Overall, the movie did a great job of making us care about Harry Potter's little band of misfits. Though a little slow and tedious in times, I do think it was an incredible way to start the series and introduce a lot of people to this magic world. So, I think this belongs in the solid tier. That's my first change to the video. We had it as mid initially. There you go, Harry Potter fans. I bumped it up for you. Everyone shits on Chamber of Secrets, but this will always be one of my personal favorites. I remember until I was able to convince my dad, I wasn't allowed to watch past the second movie, so I rewatched this one a lot. And on top of that, I had the Chamber of Secrets game on the GameCube, which was iconic. Literally some of my best early gaming memories were on there. So Chamber of Secrets has a special place in my heart. Is it really goofy? Does using your brain make you start to realize that a lot of things could have been changed? Are all the adults in the series incompetent up to this point? Yep, and yep. In comparing it with the first movie, we all found it to be slightly more engaging, but that may just be because of how goofy it was. To start off with the good, there is a lot to like about this one. All of our main cast is still really enjoyable here, and you start to see a jump in their acting abilities. Other highlights in this one are the flying car scene, the annoying and lovable clump of foreskin Dobby, Lockhart's goofy ass, snake talking, and wizard racism. You know, I really felt like these movies needed racism in them. Thanks, JK. Needed more slurs in my life. As a whole, this film works to build upon the established world from the first. But even though this movie's a lot of fun, and I personally have a strong bias towards it, there's a lot of dumb shit in this one, and I can't be here pulling punches. Okay, first off, we get a reoccurring JK self-proclaimed genius moment with wabam, the introduction of this gooberous plot device. See, for this one, the entire plot revolves around the diary of Tom Riddle, who we later learn is Voldipoo. This diary contains a part of Voldemort's soul as a 16-year-old and can allow him to be resurrected. So Voldy entrusted this very important relic to his #1 side piece, Lucius the Vicious Predator Malfoy, and so shit becomes a lot more dicey when we start to think about the plan that Lucius puts into play. In order for this to actually be successful, it relies on the strangest and most obscure series of events that definitely couldn't have been planned. It all relies on this meeting in Diagon Alley. Diagon Alley, where Lucius, the flying groper Malfoy, sneaks said diary into Ron Weasley's little sister's cauldron, where she will then read it, be possessed, open the Chamber of Secrets unnoticed, and cue the revival of the Dark Lord. The plan is so random it makes you wonder, why did it have to be Ginny Weasley? See, we're starting to get to the point where JK began to overcomplicate her stories and assure everyone that everything was meticulously planned out, because later on she then introduces the Horcruxes and establishes that Tom Riddle's diary was one of them. But it partially ends up making Voldemort's plans for revival a lot more messy in these early movies. Again, I have a massive fondness for this one, but it does reek of the level of plot conveniences you'd see in your typical seasonal anime. Some other dumb shit to include: how was the snake trained to be racist? How did nobody notice it petrifying people? Why did no one do anything about Hagrid going to literal wizard Alcatraz? And just in general, why did Dugaldorf do nothing? There are a lot of questionable moments in this movie, but I gaslit my friends into thinking this one was cool, so it deserves a nice spot on the solid tier, though it should probably go on Goofy Fun. Fine. Okay, straight up, this is the best Harry Potter film, and immediately all of us agree. It managed to perfectly balance that fantastical tone from the previous entries and blend it with a darker atmosphere. It's this feeling that something more sinister may be lurking around the corner that makes this one a lot more engaging. It feels to be a natural progression in the storyline that is aided in the hands of the new director for this one, Alfonso Cuarón, who, yeah, is pretty good at the whole movie thing. Visually, this one's a lot nicer to look at too. There are a lot of some really good uses of the long take in this one, which really worked well in some scenes to build tension. This Harry Potter film was probably one of the most well-crafted and also a solid source material, only worked to aid it. Cuarón's presence on set was extremely important for these young actors improving their crafts, and like with every other film in this series, there was another acting jump. The company of the great Gary Oldman was likely extremely influential as well. Aside from the acting, there were a lot of cool things this one. We get our final Harry-focused Quidditch scene, which is kinda sad, but I loved how it was shot and just generally how it felt more intense. The introduction of these spooky soul suckers and Sirius Angus Black, a great nickname by Ted, added a lot more for Harry to worry about other than Voldemort, and I found that pretty refreshing coming off the previous two. I love that this one was the only storyline without the Riddler. I think for building the world, it was really important to establish the impacts of Voldy on wizard society and getting to know some of his followers. The overall pacing of this one was a lot better than the first two, and the fact that it has two climaxes adds to that. It gives you this initial vibe going into the third act that everything's been wrapped up. Big Bird's dead, Angus is about to die, and Lupin is gone, dealing with his midnight demons. It's very rare for the introduction of time travel to be simple, but in this film, it's mostly easy to follow. It uses the classic time being like a loop mechanics, and it works for how the story's told. It makes it so Harry and Hermione fit perfectly into the events that happened, and I gotta give some credit to you-know-who over there for the fact that this plot was a little bit more well thought out. However, like every single Harry Potter story, as soon as you start to use your brain just a little bit more, things start to look questionable. For example, why was time travel never used later on in the story? Or earlier? Why was Dumbledore hiding this the whole time? Is that because you didn't finish ironing out the mechanics, JK? Well, actually, I planned it the whole time, and I wrote it in my new book that is actually a screenplay, Harry Potter Next Generations, where we bring back Cedric and Voldemort's daughter, and... Anyway, as long as your brain is slightly turned off while watching all of these, everything is a-okay. And Prisoner of Azkaban is a really good movie. This belongs in the GOATs. Okay, now Goblet of Fire is one of those big kahunas in a major storyline, and for Harry Potter, it is the big kahuna, because it's the turning point in the series to become figuratively and literally darker. From the start of this movie, it's telling you, we ain't fucking around. No more kid shit. This one has some cool new gimmicks too, with the fun, not-so-try wizard tournament, a fight to the death including some French chick Victor Crumb aka Ivan Cum, according to Ted, Batman and Dragon Slayer 555. We also get the incredible showcase of J.K. Rowling's naming ability. Guys, I'm not racist. I have several Asian friends and my black friends. This movie also introduces the great One-Eyed Lenny, another great nickname by Ted, who is actually just an undercover wizard KKK member. So we're just gonna ignore these dudes and the way they look. I'm starting to feel a little bit scared here, but this story really serves as the point to break our main crew. Potboy becomes slightly more edgy, Hermione is just kind of minding her own business, and Ron is a waste of space. One of the biggest things we realize when going back through these movies is that Ron is absolutely useless. No disrespect to Rupert Grint because he seems like a nice lad, but Ron's got nothing to do except complain in most of the movies past the third one. His lowlights include randomly being pissy at Harry, randomly being pissy at Hermione, and collecting a kiss for literally doing nothing.
I fucking hate Ron Weasley. Bitch,
I actually
bro.
didn't like notice to what extent he was
That's
useless
what I'm
until
saying.
today.
I didn't realize
Like,
until,
damn,
rewatching it
he's
now.
a useless motherfucker.
How does he bag the French
She's
bitch?
You must have helped her.
You must have helped. How did he help? He was under the water.
Yeah.
He was under the water.
No.
How did he help?
And then Ron's like, yeah.
Yeah, I helped. No, the fuck you didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And then that fucking shit with Hermione. Ugh, dude. Oh my god, Ron is useless.
Ted especially was pissed because Emma Watson's chemistry with Daniel Radcliffe felt a lot more natural than Rupert Grint. So this is where his hatred of Ron began to boil. Aside from our problems with Ron, I think there were some other areas in the story that could have been improved a little bit. Specifically fleshing out Cedric and the rest of the contestants just a little bit more. I think some of those emotional moments would have been hit a little harder if we knew a little bit more about them and had more time to spend with them. I think especially if we gave more motive for Harry to save Flora's sister or making Harry and Cedric closer friends, I just think it would have helped, and I don't know, it would have made Cedric's death maybe a little bit more powerful. Again, that's very nitpicky. The movie itself, it's a game changer for Harry Potter, and it proves to be really important in setting up the series to have 4 more movies by introducing this bald, lanky bastard.
I can touch you now.
Guys, add that one to the Predator count. Again, this film does fall victim to the if you start to think about it too hard, the plot becomes a lot more questionable. Like, why didn't any Death Eater try to revive Voldemort in this way earlier, guys? I also think that Barty Crouch Jr.'s plan was also really weird. Like, I feel like things would have just played out similarly if he had done nothing. I really don't know if it was that necessary to make the moody reveal in this one. Just say a different Death Eater put Harry's name in and the film doesn't change too much. Anyway, even though JK may complicate the plot significantly sometimes for no reason, I still think this film works well and does a solid job of setting us up for the final few movies. Even though I may desire a little bit more from specific emotional beats, I think everything was hit pretty decently in this one, and that whole final sequence was really entertaining. Initially, we had this on the Just Right tier, and I'm sticking with that Just Right tier. Let's go. Okay, and this one's basically, everybody hates Harry. After the events of the last movie, Harry tells everyone that Voldemort has returned and the world is about to end. In turn, everyone is basically like, no, you silly, stupid little kid. This film had the great honor of adding a corrupt government as the fun new gimmick. So now we have Wizard Hitler, his band of KKK wizards, and a government that denies real events. Man, this is a really cool, whimsical world that I would love to live in. Anyway, the Ministry of Magic basically tells everyone, bah, Harry and Dumbledore are stupid little liars. Don't believe them. Everyone's like, okie dokie. He hates Harry. He hates Harry. She really hates Harry. And we all hate her. On that point, this movie brings us the film incarnate of the devil, Dolores, a literal criminal, Umbridge. She's brought in as a pin to pop all the actual fun things going on at Hogwarts. Basically, she's this corrupt little pink dwarf that's trying to spread the Ministry's stinky propaganda. She deletes clubs, gets rid of self-defense class, cockblocks every single student, tortures students, and is overall just a ruthless piece of shit. She is the perfect character to hate with literally 0 redeeming qualities. And that fact allows everyone watching to be in agreement that we all hate her. And that moment, when she finally gets what's coming, feels that much more satisfying. All credit to the actress here, because I remember hearing in an interview something about Daniel Daniel Radcliffe saying that she could just turn it on and off, and I'm like, the fact that you could go that hard into a role, damn. I will say, one aspect of this movie I'm not too fond of is David Yates. I'm just not the biggest fan of his style and the way he handles the wizarding world. I don't know, it's just kind of a personal nitpick with the rest of these, but something about his style just rubs me the wrong way. As for the plot, however, I think this one is solid, albeit generally miserable. Like, these next few films, the gang is dealing with war, so that sucks. But I mean, there's a lot of good moments, just getting to them can be a little bit soul-crushing. A lot of that whimsical magic is gone, and you begin to start feeling its absence in this one. I will say, however, Harry's personal development was really strong in this movie. His life is just basically in the shitter. He's feeling the impacts of Cedric's death, Voldemort's return, and he gets expelled for protecting his cousin from some Dementors. So he has to go to a court case to prove he's actually innocent. This is all even before he reaches Hogwarts. On top of that, he's now mentally preparing for the fact that a war is about to happen. Oh, and not to mention the fact that the world hates him because they think he's lying about Voldemort's return. In this one, Harry has to deal with a lot of different complexities in his life, and he starts to become a little bit more jaded and edgy. But I think for this film it works, especially for when we look at Harry's character. He's isolated for the first portion of this one, and it gives him time to simmer with his abundance of emotions. We get a very confused and conflicted Harry who is angry with his former concept of the wizarding world crumbling before his very eyes. To add on to that, his nightmares continue to haunt him and drive this fear into him that he's becoming Voldemort. This, alongside with Daniel Radcliffe's best performance up to this point, makes this whole arc throughout this one a lot more interesting. I also want to commend this film for its final act, giving us some really cool action. We got a slew of emotions from the introduction of Bellatrix, I Can Save Her Lestrange, Ted's massive crush, and the death of Sirius Black, and finally, this one gives us an actual wizard battle, and not just who's got the stronger laser beam. It really does suck that this is the best battle that we get in the entire series, better than Deathly Hallows Part 2, which is basically just the same as what we saw in Goblet of Fire. The fact that we get to see Dumbledore as this masterful wizard who's able to counter these dangerous variety of attacks from Voldemort is really awesome. Anyway, this movie ends, and everyone realizes, oh shit, Harry and Deedleding weren't lying. Guess we're at war now. I actually really didn't know where to put this one. Initially, we put this on the Goofy Fun tier. I really don't know. Like, I'm gonna leave it on Goofy Fun, but it isn't particularly goofy or fun all the time. Well, should have reconsidered that name. Whatever. Okay, so Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is okay, I guess. I mean, we get to see Harry activate that main character Riz. Okay, nephew, I see you. You alright, white boy. But then he gets cockblocked by the mystical fart, showing Harry that he's turning black, and he proceeds to force him to convince an armchair to teach magic. Oh yeah, there's also a war going on in this one. One of the strangest parts about Half-Blood Prince is the consistent shift in tone. Like, the world is just in complete shits right now, but at the same time, everyone is just goofing off. Like, you still have that miserable tone as a result of the war, but there are just a lot of gags in this one. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't mind it, but in terms of the overall tone, it might have been more effective to sprinkle out the gags rather than make it like half the film. I think especially because of how much serious content they have to cover, it might have been more effective to sprinkle it rather than, you know, it being such a massive part. But I can't lie, I love goofy shit sometimes. And when I think about shit like little Snape writing in his science textbook calling himself the Half-Blood Prince, it's kind of funny. Aside from the gooberous jokes in this one, it also serves as the big progression for a lot of our main romances. And frankly, they suck. Earlier I mentioned the fact that we didn't like Ron and Hermione's pairing, well this one makes it worse. Ron is a consistent shithead towards her, to the point where I'm like, girl, you can do better, you deserve more. For the fresh viewer like Ted, it becomes really hard to feel invested in the progression of their relationship. Then we get Harry and Ginny, which has like negative chemistry. Honestly, I've never seen two actors be more robotic in a romance scene. Like that kiss in the Room of Requirement, whoa. She just pecked his bottom lip and then left. But beyond all that, what is the big purpose of this movie? Well, it's to introduce the idea of the Horcruxes and to kill off Dingledore. Now, the idea of the Horcruxes makes sense when we just think about this movie. This whole idea begins to crumble a bit when we look at the movies before and after. For the sake of this review, I'll be focusing just on this one. In terms of this film, Dumbledore does not know the existence of Horcruxes, but he does know that Professor Slughorn has the answers to Tom Riddle's past. So, he sends Harry in as a sleeper agent. See, Harry's whole thing with Slughorn is completely luck-based, and it doesn't really make much sense. And the plot conveniences force it so that Harry just happens to obtain Snape's old textbook, with notes making him a straight-A potion student that Slughorn likes. And that's how he wins the liquid luck, which is later what allows him to get Slughorn's memory to figure out what the Horcruxes are. There are so many conveniences to get to this point, and we're just kind of ignoring it because, you know, Dumbledore dies. When I think back to this movie, there are just a lot of points that I enjoy and a lot of aspects that I do think work, but there is, just again like all of these, a lot of dumb shit. So I know this is kind of boring, but I'm gonna have to stick this in the goofy fun tier. I feel like the last two were a bit more sluggish to get through, but, you know, they did have their fun moments. A lot of people don't like the Deathly Hallows Part 1, and I would say the prime reason people get turned off by this one is mainly because of how slow it feels. Those moments where our main trio is just wandering can feel like a bit of a drag. With that, this becomes one of the less rewatchable flicks. But I think these moments are extremely necessary for some of the payoffs we get in the next film. It gives us, as the audience, a bit of time to simmer with these characters who are having to deal with some of the worst moments in their lives. The start of this film is one of the most heartbreaking in the series. Harry and Hermione have to abandon their families, more specifically Hermione having to wipe her parents' memories of her entire existence. Oh damn man, she gotta get with Ron. I'm sorry girl, I'm so sorry. I did really like the massive game of Short King Manhunt. It's also made me think during the movie, like when they drink the polyjuice potion, do they just kind of like see all of Harry? Because in that case, Harry might be feeling like really awkward, or he's just like standing there, hands on his hips, extremely proud of himself. I think it was a good action sequence to start the film with, and establish the general state of where the Wizarding World is at. One thing I do have a problem with in the whole of the Deathly Hallows is the way that J.K. Rowling kills off characters in very anticlimactic ways. In this one, nobody really gives a shit that One-Eyed Lenny died, because nobody fucking knew him, and he dies off screen. He doesn't even make it to the final battle. We also get the death of Hedwig in this battle, which was just like, shit, man, it sucks. Why do you have to kill the bird? You know, I do get that this is supposed to be like symbolic, Harry growing up and losing his innocence, blah, blah, blah. But like, I think we could have had a cooler death for Hedwig, or, you know, just not killed the bird. What I will say is the impacts of the characters' deaths on our main cast are important. They add to that general war-based aura. This is on top of the fact that they're hunting for dusty pieces of Voldemort's soul that they don't even know how to destroy for most of the film, and that just adds to that extremely brutal feeling. Like, they start off with some decent pace by getting the Polyshits to steal a Horcrux off Umbridge at the Ministry, but because they don't know how to destroy the Horcruxes, the journey becomes that much more difficult for them. Side note, I actually really enjoyed that scene in the Ministry, and a little bit with Ron getting too into character, Ron W. But I think those long scenes of them just wandering through a multitude of different terrains in search of an answer was important for establishing the helplessness of their situation. Plus, the added aggression the Horcrux gives adds to the tension they have amongst each other. It was kind of weird how they just had to wear it, like, all the time. Like, Hermione did have this crazy-ass bag, but I don't know, small little detail, I can manage to overlook it. Now, Ron still retains his general shithead status in this one, and even the deceased Dumbledore knew it. So he left him a glow stick for when he had a hissy fit. To be absolutely fair to Ron, he actually does have more reason to be miserable in this movie, because while the main gang is on their way hunting for Horcruxes, he has to listen to the radio to make sure his family isn't in danger, while wearing the Stinky Necklace. Another really good moment from their entire journey was the time where Harry and Hermione are dancing together, and I think it was a really good emotional moment to hit in the wake of all that was going on. It gave them a chance to sort out some of the feelings they had and influence their decision to head towards Godric Hollow to fight a weird snake lady. Anyway, shit happens. Wand breaks. Harry goes for a swim because he sees the sword of Gryffindor in Ice Lake. Then he gets trapped, and Ron comes back to save the day like nothing happened, and they break the locket. Then they get caught by some random hunters and conveniently take them to Malfoy Manor. Like most of these, the final sequence was extremely strong, and I enjoyed it a lot. There was a lot going on, from the little bit of Draco helping Harry, Bellatrix doing a madness on Hermione, Luna and Stick Guy being in the dungeon too, for some reason, and Peter Pettigrew's goofy-ass last scene. This motherfucker did so much bad shit throughout these films, and he gets a Looney Tunes-ass send-off. Dobby was a cool addition in this battle too, to save the day, and then die. His death was sad, but I feel like it was possibly avoidable. He gave this long-winded anime-ass speech about how he was gonna save Harry Potter and all of his friends because it's power of friendship, and then gets a knife thrown at him, and he dies. Well, at least Dobby graduated from annoying clump of foreskin to heroic clump of worse CGI foreskin. Overall, I kind of enjoyed this one. Is it allowed? I don't think it was perfect, but in terms of where it sets everything up for the last one, it worked pretty well. Initially we ranked this one in, oh man, goofy fun. This was not very goofy nor fun. I really need to change that name. Anyway, this one's going on the solid tier. Okay, finally, the last one. Harry Potter Beyond the Spider-Verse was about what you'd expect from a finale. It ends in a fitting way for all of our characters, and while our little watch crew may not have been satisfied with the romantic conclusions, everything that happens feels in line with each character. Again, one of my main issues with the way Deathly Hallows was written was how a lot of the characters' deaths were handled. It just felt like JK really wanted to show, okay guys, shit, this is war, people are dying. But I think the problem that we run into is that with a lot of characters, it feels like their deaths were partially wasted. Like their sacrifice wasn't really paid off. Particularly with a character like Lupin, someone who is so close to Harry and guided him to face his fears. To me, he at least deserved an on-screen death with some recognition. I think it's okay to kill off side characters in this war, and even more important characters, but the more you kill off those more important characters, realizing the weight of their deaths become a lot more difficult. Other characters on like the antagonist side, specifically regarding Bellatrix, I think her getting killed off by Molly Weasley in that way was really underwhelming, especially considering how much she did to wound some of our main cast. She killed Sirius Black and basically killed Neville's parents. On the more positive side, the way tension was built in this one was actually really well done. The way this film established the importance of time, especially in the Battle of Hogwarts, was quite strong. Harry and the gang were really scrambling to find the Horcruxes, and it manages to keep you on your toes. It also managed to put a lot more pressure on the main squad to find answers before the time runs out. The stakes become a lot higher because each moment means lives taken amongst the students. There is one big part about this one that will always confuse me, and it's the reveal that Dinglenuts knew that Harry was a Horcrux and that he needed to die before he canonically knew about the Horcruxes. And so if Dumbledore knew, then what was the point of the Slughorn plan? Have we just wasted half a movie with that plan? The only thing I can think of is that Dumbledore didn't know how many Horcruxes there were. Whatever the case, the way that this happened was a bit messy, and if Dingledorf actually knew about the Horcruxes, he just wasted about an hour and 10 minutes of my time. But you know what? There's been so much shit throughout all of these movies, I don't even care anymore. You win, JK. You win, piece of shit. Anyway, Harry's like, shit dude, I'm a Horcrux. Damn, I guess I gotta die now. Sucks all these other guys had to die too. Whoop, shucks. So everyone's like sad and stuff. Harry sees some dead people being like, you got this, sport. And Voldemort kills Harry. The end. But wait, he sees another dead guy who comes to give him advice. But wait, he's not dead. And he has this cool we back moment. At least the final confrontation. The final battle was done pretty well in this one, but it was a little bit underwhelming. Like, I really just want a cool wizard battle that isn't just clashing wizard-colored, like, wands at each other. I don't know, man. The Order of the Phoenix fight was just so cool and made me think, why can't I get more of this? But I want to stress, with all the shit I've given this one, I do really like it. When this movie is at its best, it hits very hard because of all the time we've spent with all of our characters. Plus, it has the aid of the previous film, which had already covered most of the content from the Deathly Hallows book. Either way you spin it, this finale was fitting for this series, and I think that even the stuff I dug into for this one was not detrimental to the film at all. So this one belongs in the just right tier for me. At the end of watching all of these, with all their flaws, I will still always love them, considering how important they've been in my childhood. Ted, on the other hand, had a different opinion.
Ron Weasley K to the death of me. Fuck Ron Weasley. Ron Weasley K. Ron Weasley to my dick. Fuck Ron Weasley. Fuck that bitch ass. Like, Ron Weasley's a bitch, bro. Fuck him.
Alright, just right here. That's
on everything I love, fuck Ron.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. As I always say with these lists, this is by no means objective, and in fact I'd actually love to know what you guys think of the series. Die-hard Harry Potter fans, book-only fans, movie-only fans, both-only fans. Wait, that's not right. No, yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think of the series. My opinions fluctuate all the time on these. The top generally stays the same, but again, I would love to hear what you guys think. And I would like to take a moment to thank you all for 500 subs. We just hit that at the start of the year, and it just means so much. Like, we've come really far in a small period of time. Just want to say a big thank you to everyone, and I'm gonna keep posting more content, of course, and the next vid will be JJK Season 2. I know we're still catching up to the manga. I'm still catching up to the manga because I've been busy with this work and writing more scripts. But yeah, Season 2 will be up, and then in the future I will make a manga-related video as well. And yeah, that's really about it. So just be on the lookout within the next week or two for that JJK vid. I will see you guys in a bit. Bye-bye.